So now, I need my notebook, baby. I want to talk about vegetables. My favorite vegetables in the garden this year. I don't know that I could reduce the vegetables to just 10. And I probably should do my favorite 10 for the fall garden, the spring and fall garden, and my favorite 10 for the summer garden, because they are different. And we do get 3 full seasons here in North Carolina, Zone 7B. I actually get almost year round, because there are certain things that I can pretty much grow year round. We are heading into January and I still have Tomsoy, arugula, carrots, onions, collard greens, cabbages, Swiss chard. I'm trying to remember what all I still have growing in my garden. Now, some of them are growing slower, but this December we have been so warm. I mean, this week alone at the end of December, it's been in the 70s, and I have been working in my garden. So we really only get cold like January, February. And last year, my Swiss chard made it all the way through. And it just, I had, what was it, Swiss chard, collards, Brussels sprouts maybe. Anyway, they just kind of stopped growing. Shallots. I had several things that just kind of stopped growing and hung out for like those 2 months. And then at the end of February, they slowly started growing. And by the end of March, they were like full and lush. And I was harvesting off of them again. So we almost grow year round. And I would actually like to start trying to grow under cover year round. See if I can't squeeze that out to fully come year round. So we'll see what happens. But I just pulled some things that I found were really fun to grow this year. So that's my top 10. Maybe this coming year I'll do like my top 10 for the spring garden, summer garden, fall garden. But for end of year wrap up, I'm just going to do the top 10 for me this year. So number 1 is a cat. I can grow cats really well in the garden. Is the Texas Hill Country Okra. I do not have a seed packet for it. However, I had so much at the end of the year, and I actually posted on Instagram the kids opening up the dried spines to save the seeds, and we shared those with some people this year. And I'll try to find a picture of it, but it is, we typically around here grow I think it's the Clemson spineless, and which is a great okra to grow, but I liked the idea of the Texas Hill Country because it was short and it had color to it, and I just really enjoy color in the garden. The Texas Hill Country was a very heavy producer. It was slower to grow for me in the very beginning, but once it got going, it produced way more than the Clemson spineless did. You like to lay on the side I'm reading from. If you would lay on the other side, we'd be okay. So the next thing I grew for the first time this year, and that was purple sweet potatoes. I have never grown those before, but I was in my local garden center, which I try to go to for as much as I can because it is local, family owned. It's right around the corner for me, and I have grown up going to that garden center. When I was young, I would go with my parents, and the gentleman who owned it was there, and he was very knowledgeable. And now his son, who is around my age, maybe a little bit younger, has taken it over, and he's also very knowledgeable. It's still family run. You know, I've just basically grown up there, so I've tried to do as much business there as I can. And I was there in the fall, well, late summer, and they had purple sweet potato slips. And I was like, oh, that sounds fun. So I had 5 because I gave a couple to my dad. And I was so pleasantly surprised when I dug them up right before the frost. Actually, I think it was after the first frost in November. I dug them up, and I did not get a weight on them. I should have, but I dug them up in over 2 days, and those 5 plants, they had run everywhere. They had grown up the side of my chicken coop, over the top of it, down the other side. they had put down more tubers, and so my 5 little spots ended up being like 7 or 8 spots that had bunches of potatoes, and I would not be surprised if there are not potatoes out there that I missed. But they did so good, and they taste like the regular sweet potatoes. They do great. They were nice and uniform. I had some really big ones, just a couple small ones. Most of them were at least this size, so I've really enjoyed that. Let's see, white patty pan squash. So I grew this at my dad's in his lower garden. It's down by the large creek. I don't know if it would be considered, I don't think it's considered a river, but it's very wide and flows nonstop. And so he has this really sandy soil down there. And he does not have as much issue with the squash bugs as I do. They hit me early in the season and they overrun my garden, and I have a lot of problems growing certain things here. So I put these patty pan squash at his house, and they were very prolific. And if you did not check them, they would get huge. And so he kept calling me and saying, you need to come pick this squash. There are giant UFOs in my garden. And so it was really funny. So we started calling them UFO squash. But they did really good. They had a nice, pleasant flavor. And a few of them that got really big and hard were great for decoration for the fall. So I will probably only grow maybe one of these just because there was so much of it. And I think I do prefer the straight neck yellow squash. But this was really good. So, but we had, oh gosh, I don't know, maybe 5 or 6 plants of this. It was so much. So this is a good one. The next one that I liked this year was my rattlesnake pole beans. And this is not my first year with these. However, last year in 2020, they did really good for me, but it was really late in the season that they kind of took off. So I did not get to take full advantage of them. And I didn't have very many plants come in. The germination was not good. So I bought some more, and I bought some from Baker Creek and planted them, and they took off for me. And this was my primary bean this year. So last year, the I don't know how to say this. I think it's blauhild. They were my favorite because they were very prolific, and what I really love about them is the purple color. I could see them on the vine. And so I really enjoyed them. Now, I did like the dragon tongue bush bean and the rattlesnake pole beans because of the I guess it's striation, the striping on them. They did make it a little easier to see, but I did not like the dragon tongue bush beans because they're very low. And I like to grow my beans up on the trellis so I can just stand there because I'm 6 foot tall. So it was nice to just be able to stand there and pick the beans versus digging under a bush. So this year I didn't do the dragon tongue at all, and I did not do the half runners, which I typically do. Now I did can a bunch of half runners, but they were from the ones grown up at my dad's house because that's pretty much all they will plant. So I had quite a bit of those. But here I just did the rattlesnake pole and the blauhild. These did not do as well this year as they did last year. They did okay. I did plant them only late in the season, but these took off and I got quite a bit out of them. So I'm going to plant them earlier this year because my dad planted such a large amount. He planted 2 100-foot rows. I think it was more like one 100-foot row and then one that was 75 feet. I don't know. He had so many green beans. So I didn't plant any in the spring, and I just helped with his. So I did not plant mine until late summer to get some fresh beans for fall because his had fizzled out and been pulled up. So I think I'm going to plant mine earlier and do these varieties so I can get more use out of them, because when I planted them in 2020, I got a lot more out of them, and I really enjoyed them because they kind of fizzled out, but then it's like they resurged for fall. So I don't have my notes because of the cat. So the next one, this one I am just learning to love, is Tomsoy. I could not get it to grow last year, and I don't know what I did wrong. I think maybe my seeds had gotten washed away because we had such a wet year. But this year I put it in containers out here on the deck. I bought some raised bed containers to try out, and it has been amazing. It has grown beautifully, and I just made some quiche from it, and I'm harvesting it, and we're in late December, and it's glorious. So I'm hoping I really love it, but I love the growth of it. I love the look of it. Even if I don't like the taste of it, I think I will still grow some of it just because the green rosettes, they're just gorgeous. But I personally love spinach, so I think we're gonna like this. So I guess I'm just not gonna use my notes because this one. However, I do have my packets laid out, so we'll just keep going. So the next one is decorative boards, these little small boards. They were absolutely useless to me because I let them go all the way to gourds, which I know if you pick them early, you can use them just like a squash. But I let them go because I wanted the decoration. And I got this one little packet, and I got it on like clearance, I think. It says $6, but I got it at a place in 2020 up in the mountains, and they were clearance and everything out, and I want to say it was $1. Anyway, small ornamental mixed gourds from Wyatt Coral Seed Company. I planted a row, I think it was a 100-foot row up at my dad's, and they went everywhere. And I fertilized them twice. I fertilized them twice, and there were so many. Even when the squash bugs finally hit them way late in the season, there was just so many. They didn't really get any of the gourds themselves, just the vines at that point. But the gourds had already done their thing. And I mean, I had so many gourds. I think I picked 3 or 4 5-gallon buckets of the small ones, and then I had 10 big ones, like the big snake gourds and the big birdhouse gourds. I had some huge birdhouse gourds, so they were really fun, and I took those to market with me, mostly for decoration, but I did have a few people purchase some. So I will be growing these again, not in that quantity because I didn't really know what to do with all of them. There was just way too many. So I will probably put in a few plants. Now where we put them up at my dad's, it was a spare field, and he planted most of it in like a buckwheat, sunflower, rye, millet mix. So we just left on the lower end of it where it sloped down. He left me like 2 rows, and I put in these, and my sister put in pumpkins. Now her pumpkins did not come in, but these did great. So I don't know if something got her pumpkins, because I know there's deer out there. She also did not fertilize her pumpkins, so I don't know if that had to do with it. But these did fantastic. So they were just something fun and different to grow. The next one is banana sweet peppers. My husband likes sweet peppers, or banana peppers. I don't eat a lot of peppers, but I decided to grow peppers this year. I have not grown peppers in probably 13 years. I used to grow bell peppers when I had my garden up here in the side yard in the front before the trees got too big and shaded it too much, and I grew peppers up there. And then I quit growing peppers. So I decided this year, since last year we had moved our garden to the back and it was full sun again and really hot, to grow peppers again. So I tried a couple different varieties, and they all did pretty good. But the banana peppers were beautiful. They were true to description. They were true to size. They were prolific. So next year I'm going to grow definitely more and do some pickled banana peppers to keep around. We just pulled them for fresh because I only had like 2 plants. and I did get them going really late. So the last one for this year is the White Wonder cucumber. My husband loves cucumbers. His favorite is the Market More, but we did not get any of those to germinate for us from the pack that we bought. So I had a couple different cucumbers that did do well, and the White Wonder cucumber was one of them, and it was pretty consistent through the season. The heat did get it eventually, but it did do really well for us, and I just enjoyed the color of it because you could see it. A few of our other cucumbers, the munchers, and it was like something Ashley cucumber, I didn't always see them, and then they would get really big, but these were easier to see, so I did enjoy that. And plus I just like having the different colors, foods and things growing in the garden, so that was fun. All right, that was it. Are you going to hang out with me while I try to do the flowers too? Apparently.